Ahead this Thursday, full of promise and well-loved by everyone, a devastated cricketing community pays tribute to the teenage victim of a freak training tragedy. Developing news on the search for Gus Lamont, investigators turning their focus to an outback dam, those new details from police. Also happening today, the Bali Three about to face court on murder. We're live to our Asia editor. A serving of praise and compliments as Anthony Albanese dines with Donald Trump, the political bromance on show in South Korea. And heartbreak and hell in the Caribbean, nations pick up the pieces after Hurricane Melissa.
This is Seven's National News with Natasha Belling.
Good afternoon. A shattered cricket community is reeling this afternoon after a freak training accident claimed the life of a much-loved local teenager. Ben Austin, a promising, talented and popular player, died in hospital in Melbourne today. What was meant to be a routine session in the nets ended in tragedy when he was struck in the neck by a ball. The 17-year-old's death leaving a family without their son and everyone who knew him in shock. Live now to our reporter Jacqueline Stanley in Melbourne. Jackie, this is such an horrific story. How is the 17-year-old being remembered today?
With a lot of tears, to be honest, Harsh, behind me. Tributes are flowing online, but behind me there is a memorial set up. There are flowers, Gatorade bottles, messages from his teammates written on cricket bats and even what I believe is his training shirt. He was a keen cricketer and football player. Ben's football club have paid tribute to him, recalling that he was a kind, respectful and popular kid who had just won Best Finals Player for 2025 at the Waverley Hawks. You can only imagine what his family and close friends are dealing with right now. All who knew him are promising to wrap their arms around his teammates, especially those who were there when he was hit in the neck during warm-up.
He was well loved by everyone and a good cricketer as well. Just an awful tragedy and we'll just have to support each other at this tough time.
And Jackie, at this stage it just looks like a terribly freak accident. He was wearing a helmet, but this incident has put helmet safety for young cricketers back in the spotlight.
Well, Tash, you'll remember the major reforms to helmets after Philip Hughes died 11 years ago. Now, the club here has told me that a sling arm was being used when the ball was bowled to Ben. That's similar to a tool that you'd use to throw the ball to a dog at the park. But no doubt, right around the nation and around Victoria, there will be major reforms to come to prevent a tragic accident like this one here.
Yeah, awful. We are thinking of all of those affected by this terrible accident. Jackie, thank you. We have developing news on the search for a missing boy in outback South Australia. Police say they will return to a property tomorrow to drain a large dam 600 metres from the homestead where Gus Lamont was last seen in September. Divers previously searched the water early on in the investigation, but emptying it completely will allow detectives to see everything clearly, including areas covered by underwater vegetation. Investigators want to rule out the possibility that the 4-year-old drowned. To news just in, and a bus driver has been found guilty today of causing a crash that killed an 18-year-old woman in Brisbane. Lindsay Francis Selby was trying to round a corner when his vehicle mounted a footpath, striking and killing Tia Cameron in March last year. The 72-year-old tried to fight a single charge of driving without due care and attention causing death. But this morning, a magistrate convicted him. The victim's family hugged and wept at the verdict. 3 Australian men accused of murdering a father in Bali are expected to face court at any moment. Joining us now live with the details is our Asia editor, James Carmody in Denpasar. James, good afternoon from here. What will happen at today's hearing?
Well, Tash, we're just hours away from that getting underway, where a panel of 3 judges will decide whether these Australian men should live or die. Already there's a heap of police here with extra heavy security for today's events. Darcy Jensen and Paya Middlemore Tapo, both aged 27, and Mevlut Koskun are accused of the premeditated shooting murder of Melbourne father Zavan Radmanovic. Now, the penalty for that in Indonesia, the maximum, can be death by firing squad. Now, we've just seen some relatives of the victim arrive here at court. We're yet to see any supporters of the accused, but they'll be facing court for the first time today, and we'll learn whether or not they might plead guilty or not guilty. But even an admission of guilt today does not necessarily spare them that potential sentence of death. Tash.
James Carmody reporting there from Denpasar. Thank you. 2 AFL players have been charged over their alleged involvement in a Boxing Day brawl in Victoria. Jordan Quinn has the details live from Melbourne. Jordan, the fight left 2 men in hospital.
Yeah, it did, Tash. 10 months on, Victoria Police have now charged Richmond star Dion Prestia and Demons defender Stephen May, as well as a third man, over the alleged brawl in Sorrento back on December 27 last year. Stephen May has been charged on summons with 1 count of affray. Meanwhile, Dion Prestia is facing 4 charges, including recklessly causing serious injury, intentionally causing injury, recklessly causing injury, as well as affray. One of the victims was William Salter, who was left with a broken eye socket. 10 months on, he says he is still unable to see out of his left eye and hasn't been able to work. Now, we are yet to hear from Melbourne or Stephen May, but this morning Dion Prestia released a statement confirming the charges but denying any involvement. He said, "I was not even physically present when it apparently took place. I deny that I am guilty of these offences and will strenuously defend these charges. As I have now been charged, it would be inappropriate for me to say anything further." The Tigers also said the club will continue to support him as the legal process takes its course. He will return to pre-season training next month. The AFL will also be closely monitoring the court case, Tash. That will begin on November 27 down in the Dramana Magistrates Court.
Jordan Quinn, thank you. NRL young gun Tyrone Munro will fight serious assault charges that saw him stood down by the NRL. Live now to Sam Payne in Sydney. Sam, good afternoon. The Rabbitohs rising star fronted court today. What happened?
Yes, good afternoon, Tash. That's right. He arrived surrounded by friends, family and his high-profile lawyer, Elias Tabjuri, who on behalf of him entered not guilty pleas to 2 charges: assault, occasioning actual bodily harm and common assault. Now, a third charge, stalking with intent or intimidation to cause fear, was withdrawn by police. But police say that Munro was arrested early this month after a report was made about an alleged domestic violence incident that occurred in April.
Everyone wants these things over sooner rather than later. The NRL season is a disappointment as well, but that's secondary to everyone's welfare.
How are you feeling after that today, Tyrone? Are you unhappy that you could potentially miss? Now, Munro's lawyer pushed to have the matter heard as early as possible next year, but the soonest available date was April 27, and that means under NFL's no-fault stand-down policy that he's set to miss the 2026 beginning of the Rabbitohs season. He played 12 games for the club this year. I'll have more details on this afternoon at 4 p.m. Tash.
Sam, thank you. More than 1,000 nurses and midwives are about to walk off the job in Adelaide despite a last-minute increased pay offer from the South Australian government. The proposal includes a 13% wage increase over 4 years and a $4,500 cash bonus.
We absolutely respect and love our nurses across South Australia, and that's why we want to give them a pay rise well above the rate of inflation.
The union's executive has reviewed the offer and will present its recommendation to members at the rally later this afternoon. Still toasting the success of their White House meeting, Anthony Albanese's relationship with Donald Trump appears to have blossomed into an all-out political bromance. National Security Editor Tim Lester is live in Korea. And Tim, the President had plenty of praise while dining with our PM at APEC.
Tashi engaged in a bit of serious backslapping. It really was something to see his essentially applause for the Australian Prime Minister. The host, President Lee of South Korea, had brought together 8 world leaders to celebrate Donald Trump, in fact, and to applaud Mr. Trump's peacemaking. They even toasted world peace during their sit-down dinner. But here's what the President had to say about Prime Minister Albanese.
We had a great meeting a week ago. You came all the way, and now you came here. But this isn't quite as far. This time I traveled far. But you've done a fantastic job, and we're working together on rare earths, but we're working on a lot of things together, and it's all working out very well.
To reinforce the support for AUKUS, the support for our defence and security relationship, but also our support for the critical minerals and rare earths arrangements.
Last 10 days back before the Washington meeting, of course, many were criticising Anthony Albanese for being too slow to form a relationship with the US president. Well, that's clearly changed, and the opposition is now acknowledging that.
Certainly seemed to be a very convivial exchange between the Prime Minister and the President, and we wish him well in that. On this regard, it's a Team Australia issue. The Prime Minister's success is Australia's success.
Mr Trump's big event here in Korea is, of course, his meeting with President Xi from China to try to thrash out their trade differences. That task is happening in the next couple of hours.
Tim Lester, thank you. Jamaicans are only just beginning to understand the full extent of the damage left behind by Hurricane Melissa. The record storm carved a hellish path, destroying homes, cutting off power and triggering damaging floods and landslides. Here's US correspondent Miley Hogan.
The priority in Jamaica right now is the search and rescue effort. Crews are making their way to the western side of the country that was hardest hit to help people who are stranded. Hurricane Melissa roared ashore as a Category 5 yesterday, the strongest on record to hit the island nation. As predicted, the aftermath is devastating. More than 70% of the country is without power, and there is widespread infrastructure damage to hospitals, homes and roads, making the effort to assess the damage and rescue people even more difficult. The monster storm weakened as it cleared Jamaica and hit Cuba. Still, its impact again devastating, thrashing the city of Santiago de Cuba and isolating hundreds of rural communities. Melissa's impact was also felt in Haiti, dropping torrential rain where authorities believe at least 20 people have been killed. Authorities say it is too early to give a clear death toll from Melissa, as crews still try to reach certain areas and people are struggling to reach their loved ones by phone. The United States is deploying disaster response teams to help the Caribbean countries affected, but warn a full damage assessment could take weeks.
Miley, thank you. Back home and taking a look at our weather details for this Thursday. Brisbane showers and 26, 23 for Sydney, partly cloudy. Similar conditions for Canberra, 22. Melbourne, 24 degrees and partly cloudy. Mostly sunny in Hobart, a top of 18 degrees. 25 and a shower or two developing for Adelaide. Perth, 22 and a shower or two also. 34 degrees and the chance of a thunderstorm for Darwin. And we'll have the full weather forecast a little later in the bulletin. Celebrities, A-listers and corporate high flyers will be treated to new experiences at this year's Melbourne Cup Carnival. Tyrus Dowers has a sneak preview from Flemington's famous birdcage marquees.
Well, I have a very exciting preview of what punters can expect in this year's birdcage ahead of the Melbourne Cup Carnival. No detail has been spared, and this is where glitz and glamour will come to life. As you can see, the tiny little town behind me, filled with marquees, has been really busy getting built over the past 15 weeks. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to grace the luxurious marquees over the Melbourne Cup Carnival. Each have their own theme and every detail has been thought out to suit. Punters will set sail with mum. Guests can expect to taste bubbles from the champagne instead of salty seas. Tab will be grilling premium Wagyu and smoked cocktails, some delivered through a curtain. Champagne showers are taking over the jewel of the birdcage in Crown's Uber Luxe suite. Then in Lexus, the biggest of them all, across the 3 massive floors. Guests will even leave with a cute little keepsake. Don Julio is getting the party started with reggae beats all day in the dim and moody Oasis, where you're greeted with a mariachi band.
I'm going to be in here with Don Julio, so I'm excited to being amongst this, sipping on these beautiful cocktails and meeting new people. I think that's what it's all about.
But I think it's good to surprise and delight out here, and obviously there's a lot of people that put so much effort and work into their outfits, so we want to be commensurate with our delivery of our experience as well.
Now, it is all systems go here at Flemington today, with the finishing touches in full swing, as everything needs to be off and racing by Saturday for Derby Day.
Tyra, thank you. After the break, a former spy agency worker admits to a betrayal selling defence secrets to a foreign enemy. Plus, an aged care worker accused of a sickening spending spree using a 104-year-old resident's debit card. Plus, two men make a confession to police hunting down the stolen Louvre jewels and turn up the tracks to lower your risk of dementia. The power of music for your memory. That's all coming up next on 7. Breaking news now, and prison guards have walked off the job at 31 correctional centres across New South Wales. Let's go straight to our reporter Zoe Martin with the details in our Sydney newsroom. Zoe, what's prompted this?
Tash, union members have been left furious after 4 prison guards were bashed at Cessnock Correctional Centre, and the man allegedly responsible only received a 3-year community corrections order. Their injuries have been described as career-ending injuries by the union, and they say these 4 prison guards are not alone. There were 378 assaults on guards in 2018, but last year that number increased to 676. They feel as if they are not being supported by the judicial system. As a result, prison guards today walking off the job. 7 News has spoken with the Minister for Corrective Services office, who says right now it's just prison guards from Cessnock. But Tash, this is very much a developing situation. 31 correctional centres are affected. We'll have the latest coming up in Sydney's 4 p.m. bulletin.
Zoe Martin, thank you for the update on that developing story. An Australian man who once worked for our government's top cyber intelligence agency has pleaded guilty in a US court to selling trade secrets to Moscow. Peter Williams admitted to handing over classified online hacking tools to a Russian buyer while he was working for an American defence company. Prosecutors say he made $1.97 million. The 39-year-old could face a maximum of 20 years jail. The FBI says he betrayed the US and its allies, causing harm that cannot be undone. An aged care worker has been charged after allegedly spending tens of thousands of dollars from a 104-year-old man's debit card. Live to Liam Bland with the details from Brisbane. Liam, these are shocking allegations.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tash. That's right. Detectives have described this behaviour as despicable and a breach of trust against some of society's most vulnerable. They allege a 32-year-old aged care worker stole a debit card from a 104-year-old man in her care at an aged care facility in Redland Bay back in August. They say over the span of 3 days, she spent and withdrew $30,000 of that man's money, and she's now been charged with 40 counts of stealing. Investigators say the elderly victim noticed his debit card was missing. He flagged that with another employee at the aged care facility, who then raised the alarm with police. Here's what detectives had to say earlier today.
It's an abuse of trust between, in this case, a carer and a patient. If you have an aged relative or a loved one and they say something's out of place, or you notice something's out of place, please ask questions.
The alleged thief from Birkdale was arrested at her home earlier this week. Tash, she'll front court in Cleveland mid next month.
Liam Bland, thank you. The 2 suspects accused of orchestrating the brazen heist at the Louvre in Paris have partially confessed to breaking into the world's most visited museum. But as US correspondent Jacqueline Robson reports, French prosecutors are no closer to finding the precious jewels they stole.
Well, this partial confession that prosecutors say they have is possibly due to the fact of the amount of DNA evidence they have against these 2 men. They're the ones that are seen in that security footage on the cherry picker who allegedly entered the Apollo room, slicing open the glass cabinets with disc cutters to steal those priceless crown jewels. One is an Algerian man who had his fingerprints all over the getaway scooter, and the other a French national who had his fingerprints on the glass cabinets and that diamond-studded crown that was dropped in their hurried escape. He also has a rap sheet of previous aggravated thefts and was on bail at the time for a ram raid on an ATM. What prosecutors don't have right now is any clue of where these 8 pieces of jewellery that is still missing are, but they have warned anyone thinking of buying them don't, because they too will face charges of handling stolen goods. They did say they're looking for 2 more associates associates who are apparently in CCTV switching cars on the way to this heist, and also on security footage on scooters as they fled Paris. The police chief has admitted there are security weaknesses at the Louvre due to ageing and expired security systems. It was in fact a passing cyclist who first alerted police to this now infamous robbery that has just captivated the world.
Jackie, thank you. Frequently listening to music as we age can significantly reduce the risk of developing dementia. A study by Monash University has found it lowered rates by as much as 39% in people over the age of 70. Playing a musical instrument decreased the likelihood by 35% compared to those who didn't. Researchers say while there's no concrete link, they're simple habits that could improve our brain function and also delay memory decline. Ahead this hour, pet-friendly aged care, how animals are a key to a long and happy life. Green fuel of the future, Mazda powers up with algae. Our motoring expert is live with the details from the Tokyo Motor Show. That in sport, NRL bombshell Ryan Pappenhausen quits the Storm. And in entertainment, Rose Byrne shares how Heath Ledger helped her make it to the big time. We're back after this short break. Here are today's entertainment headlines. Rose Byrne has opened up about how Heath Ledger helped her make it in Hollywood. The two met when they were just 18 in LA, where they starred in indie flick Two Hands, and he was in her corner from the very beginning.
Did you ever spend time with him, Jax?
Yeah.
He was a generous guy and such a talent. Obviously would have really wanted to work internationally and wanted to had those ambitions, but by no means knew how or what, you know.
So how did you design your, how did you end up
really
here?
Through Heath, I came over here, I stayed with him a bunch of times, and he was so sweet. He would get me into audition for his things.
Anne Hathaway has given a subtle nod to The Devil Wears Prada on the red carpet while attending an event in New York City. The actress stunned in an archival red Valentino gown, one she believes debuted the same year she met the fashion house's co-founders while filming the iconic movie. And she was joined by her husband, marking a rare red carpet appearance together. Elijah Wood, best known for playing Frodo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings, has surprised a couple right in the middle of their wedding ceremony at none other than the village of Hobbiton. Ariana Grande has gone back to her roots literally by dyeing her hair brunette. The actress had been rocking honey blonde locks for her role as Glinda in Wicked, helping bring the character to life. But now she's returned to her classic chocolate do, writing on Instagram, "It's good to see me, isn't it?" The Gold Coast is set to welcome a Willy Wonka-themed reality television competition series. The Netflix show titled The Golden Ticket will give contestants the chance to enter the chocolate factory so long as they can find one of the coveted golden tickets. Those lucky enough to gain entry will face a high-stakes social experience designed to challenge players both physically and mentally. The production is expected to inject more than $17 million into the city's local economy. Time for sport now with Kate Massey. Kate, good afternoon. My gosh, what a shock for the NRL.
Big news, Tash. Good afternoon. Melbourne Storm star Ryan Pappenhausen has walked away from the final year of his contract. The Clive Churchill medalist has stepped away from the NRL to consider his playing future. Pappenhausen is one of the prime targets for Rebel Rugby Series R360, but the champion fullback risks being banned from the NRL for 10 years if he begins negotiations with the Saudi-backed breakaway competition. The Kangaroos are settling into Liverpool ahead of Sunday morning's second Ashes test against England at the New Hill Dickinson Stadium. Jalissa Apps is travelling with the team.
Well, it was a very long day for the Kangaroos. They started with a very soggy training session in London, but before hopping on a train to Liverpool. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would the Kangaroos be getting on a train of all things to get to their next destination? Well, it's actually the fastest way to get to where their second test is. For context, myself and the cameraman working with me, we were in the car. It took us about 6 hours, and the Kangaroos, they had well and truly arrived. Now, they weren't exactly slumming it. They had a carriage to themselves, so they were enjoying a little bit of downtime playing cards.
I think the last time I went to train was probably when I was younger, going to my nan's in Bundaberg. So, yeah, that'll be fun. It'll be cool to get some seats with the boys and play a bit of cards.
Now, as I mentioned, before they left, they did run another training session. It was good to see Tino Fasulamala-Awi finally out there. He spent most of the day on the bike yesterday, but he was back running with the side. He revealed he's got a little bit of a knee injury and a little bit of a toe niggle, but he'll be fine come game day.
But obviously, yesterday got looked after. The knee was swollen up a bit, and same with the toe. So, it's good now, just off it yesterday and ripped in today.
Now the Aussies will enjoy a day off tomorrow. They might have a little bit of a sleep in. There'll be no training session until their captain's run, their only training session here in Liverpool before game day the following day.
Aussie legend Merv Hughes has urged Test selectors to stick with Sam Constas for the Ashes. Constas has struggled for New South Wales in the Sheffield Shield, but Big Merv told Sunrise the 20-year-old opener's rivals haven't done enough to replace him at the top of the Aussie order.
It's just an opinion, but I just think that Sam Constas is the incumbent. And the guys that are on the fringe, they've been knocking on the door, they haven't been kicking it down.
In Canberra last night, India charged to 1 for 97 inside 10 overs before heavy rain washed out the T20 series opener. Game 2 is at the MCG tomorrow night. Well, the Diamonds reclaim netball's Constellation Cup in the most dramatic fashion. The Silver Ferns won the fourth test in Christchurch 62-57 to level the series at 2-all. For the first time, extra time was used to determine the series winner. The Aussies hanging tough to win 12-11.
Ariang has taken an awful tumble.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, to get the win's awesome. I guess the way it finished, not so awesome.
Celebrations were muted, with Sunday Ariang suffering a potentially serious knee injury. Fresh off a Cox Plate win, star jockey James McDonald has quickly turned his attention to the Melbourne Cup. On board star gelding May Darn, and he liked what he saw during this morning's track work.
He really obviously switched on, so that gallop's brought him on immensely, and yeah, can't wait. He's going really well, this horse.
Before the Cup, J-Mac will ride the hot favourite for Saturday's $10 million Golden Eagle in Sydney, Chris Waller's unbeaten mare, Autumn Glow. And Liverpool's alarming form slump continues. Crystal Palace sent the Reds packing from the League Cup, winning the fourth round clash 3-0. The reigning League champs have now lost 6 of their last 7 games in all competitions.
Pino on his right, Pierre-Emerick Pino into the corner.
Palace will now face Arsenal, who cruised to a 3-0 win over Brighton. Manchester City came from behind to beat Swansea 2-1, and Jamie Gittins scored a screamer in Chelsea's 4-3 win over the Wolves. Now, the biggest news of today, Ryan Papenhuyzen stepping away from the Storm. Tash will have those details at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, very interesting to see what he may do next. Kate, thanks so much. Coming up next on The Debrief, cat call, the push to fine owners who let their felines roam free. Plus, diners divided over one restaurant's rule for kids to stay seated. And Dictionary.com unveils its new word of the year that isn't really even a word. Welcome back. The Greens have proposed a law that would see cat owners fined for letting their pets roam free outdoors in New South Wales. It's estimated pet cats kill more than 500 million animals every year in Australia, and 1/3 of households have a cat. Fines would start at around $11 and increase for repeat offenders. Joining us this afternoon on The Debrief is journalist James Royce and Fiona Ellis-Jones from the Australian Radio Network. Good afternoon to both of you. Fee, starting with those stats, 500 million animals are killed by pet cats in Australia every year. That is staggering.
That is. I can't believe that. And, it's, I guess when you think about it, not surprising that this conversation has come up. This has been, put forward many times before. And when you look at that figure, absolutely, yes, we should do something. It's nice to think that pet owners would be responsible, but the fact that so many animals are being killed by domestic cats, I think, is enough to warrant this kind of public discussion.
James, yet again, a couple of red flags here. How would this ever be enforced?
Yeah, I wonder if the major problem is the feral cats and who owns them. The answer is no one. So I think education is a really big one. I think for normal cat owners, I guess they are passively unaware as to the damage that their animals are causing to wildlife. But I think desexing as well, I think that's the root cause of having these feral cats, and if we can make that cheaper or at least more affordable, that could also help a lot.
Yeah,
but I think fines are the answers, and I also think that a political party would risk alienating 1 in 3 voters by fining them. So I don't think it'll ever happen.
Absolutely. Moving on this afternoon, a restaurant's rule for children to remain seated has caused plenty of controversy and divided the internet. A sign shared by a parent on TikTok read, "We appreciate well-behaved children and require them to remain seated at all times." The TikToker added the caption, "Breakfast with a side of unrealistic expectations," with a laughing emoji. Do you think this goes too far, Fee, or do you think it's fair?
I don't know. I've got 4 kids, and every time I think, you know what, we're going to go out to a restaurant, we're going to have a family meal, we're not going to bring iPads or phones, and I regret it. I don't know. I don't know where I sit with this one. I feel like I'm doing a bit of fence sitting today for you, Tash. But, it's not realistic that a little kid is going to be still, and sometimes it's not realistic that they're going to be quiet either. And there's nothing more mortifying as a parent than having your kids misbehave. But then, you've got other people who want to enjoy themselves and don't have kids, and why should they have to hear your children? It's a tough one.
James, great point there made by Fee, because the bottom line is there is often other people in the restaurant, and sometimes get to a point where I know a lot of families with young children that just don't go out because A, it's so expensive, and it's certainly not relaxing.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting sort of flex by this restaurant. It could be a good way to have a point of difference where if you come in here, you're not going to be disturbed by other people's ratty kids. That said, parents with young kids, they deserve sort of to treat themselves as well. And you can't always control the children. So I think the market will decide whether or not this is a good idea or not.
And finally this afternoon, this has bamboozled me on so many levels. Dictionary.com has revealed its word of the year, and it's 6-7. So many of us don't exactly know what this means. It's not even a word, it's a phrase. Here's a clue.
You want to know what time I woke up this morning? What time? Around 6-7. 6-7. Hey, Annie, ladies, did you guys do your homework last night? I tried to, but I got stuck on problem 6 and 7. 6-7.
And that's what they do too.
I did a deep dive on this for about half an hour this morning, and I still couldn't find out exactly what it means. Fee, can you help us, please?
Well, my kids have tried to explain it to me, Tash, but I did come up with a hack to get them to stop saying 6-7, and that is I've started doing it, and now it's absolutely cringe and they don't do it anymore.
Do you think that's a worthy winner for Word of the Year, James?
Look, it's had an impact. It's spread like wildfire. I still have never heard anyone actually say it. I've heard it referenced, and it was great to see it was on South Park there. Look, if there's been no other word that's had a huge impact this year, sure, why not? But yeah, I don't think I'll be saying it anytime soon.
I think there's an age cut-off. I really appreciate you both joining us this afternoon. Happy Thursday. Thanks, James and Fee.
See you, Tash.
Thanks.
Well, coming up next on 7, making aged care pet-friendly, advocates sell the benefits for senior citizens. Plus, popular car classics reinvented. We take you inside the Tokyo Motor Show happening right now. And breaking the sound barrier without making a sound. NASA tests its new supersonic jet. Checking this afternoon's top stories, and a community is in mourning after a freak cricket training accident claimed the life of a beloved local teenage player. Also, police will drain a large dam tomorrow, 600 metres from the property where 4-year-old Gus Lamont was last seen in September. 3 Australian men accused of murdering a Melbourne father are facing court in Bali today. Anthony Albanese has celebrated his growing bromance with the US President Donald Trump in South Korea. And Monash University has found evidence that listening to music can help reduce your risk of developing dementia. Taking a look at the latest finance news now with Matt Bowen from ING Bank. Matt, good afternoon. Now, the market started off quite slowly. The rate cut by the US Fed Reserve overnight, though, that really failed to rally investors, didn't it?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tash. That's right. Jerome Powell made that statement overnight, dropping a quarter of a percentage point over in the US interest rates. But the market here locally is still continuing to lick its wounds after the biggest one-day loss yesterday in over 2 months. We certainly saw local inflation figures much higher than expected. The ASX 200 at the moment is down a quarter of a percentage point, 8,905. And look, really, it's been the resource stocks that are lifting the most in early trade. MinRes is up over 11% this morning after better than expected earnings, and certainly the strong iron ore prices that we've seen this year. That's up 11% year to date. In the retail sector, we've seen some strong performance as well, but JB Hi-Fi has fallen after its sales failed to meet investor expectations. It was up 6% year on year, in line with company expectations, but investors certainly weren't buying the good news. And Wesfarmers has also dropped. That's down 3% in early trade. Really following the footsteps of Woolworths yesterday, the grocery battleground continues to heat up here locally in the lead up to Christmas, and of course getting that spend from Aussies in their grocery budget. And look, if we take a look at currency markets, look, the Aussie dollar really has retraced a little bit of its gains that it saw yesterday. It's back trading at around 65.8 US cents, again failing to bounce off the back of those rate cuts announced in the US overnight. Tash.
Matt, thank you so much. This afternoon, we are taking you inside the Tokyo Motor Show, and it's jam-packed with new vehicle launches and technologies from EVs to microcars, 6-wheeled limousines, eco-fuels and batteries. It's one of the biggest displays in the world, and it's happening right now. And car experts Paul Murrich is there, and he joins us now live. Paul, good afternoon from here. Can we start with Mazda and the new biofuel that it's created? How does this work?
So this is interesting. Mazda's been trying to delay the move to electric cars as much as possible, and they've come up with a biofuel that basically takes algae from the ocean and turns it into a fuel that you can use in both diesel and petrol internal combustion engines. And they reckon that this could be the answer to retaining internal combustion cars and not having to move everyone over to electric cars.
So has this got the potential then for other operators or manufacturers to use this as an alternative to EVs?
What they're hoping is that this will take up and scale. At the moment, it takes 1,000 litres of this algae substance to create 1 litre of fuel. So it's not exactly the best combo, but they're hoping that with efficiencies of scale and getting other Japanese manufacturers on board who have all resisted electric cars, that this will finally get to where it needs to go.
And Paul, what about Toyota? It's unveiled a couple of exciting new models.
So Toyota's got the new RAV4 on display, which is coming to Australia next year, including the new Land Cruiser FJ, which is a tiny little sub-sized Prado vehicle. They even have a flying car that they're going to launch in Dubai next year as an Uber alternative, which is pretty exciting.
So it's literally like the Jetsons then?
Yeah, exactly. It is electric though, 160 kilometres of range, so I think those two things kind of concern me a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And now let's go to Honda. What about its new Prelude?
Oh, look, the Prelude from Honda, absolutely sensational. It's a revival of this iconic nameplate. Honda's also bringing a car called the Super One, tiny little electric city car that will arrive in Australia as well. So Honda really is making a resurgence in the car space, and hopefully we will see more Hondas on the road in Australia.
And Paul, the toys that are on show are just not for the adults. Tell us about this kid's, is it pronounced Moby?
Yeah, the little Moby from Toyota. It's so cool. I spotted it in the corner. Basically, you pop your kids in it. It's an autonomous vehicle that will then drive around. They have an adult version as well. I can just picture my daughter sort of navigating her way through the house, hopefully not running into things, but this is the future of where Japan wants mobility to go when it comes to cars, and even little kids' cars like this.
It's incredible. Any other standouts we need to know about?
Look, the show is all about mobility. Japan has a real focus on caring for the elderly and disabled people, and you can see throughout the show here that they really have gone to a lot of effort to cater for those sort of minorities out there, and it is exciting to see that someone is thinking about that, and it's not just up to the aftermarket to care for these people.
That is fantastic, Paul. Have fun. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, 96% of Australians think residents should be allowed to keep their pets when they go into aged care facilities, but just 18% of homes allow it. That's according to a new survey which also found that half of all facilities admit they are not pet friendly. Trish Ennis is the CEO of the Companion Animal Network of Australia, the organisation behind this survey, and she joins us this afternoon from Victoria. Trish, thanks so much for joining us. How important are pets to the well-being of our senior citizens?
Oh, they're so important to not just the physical health, but the mental health. They are to everyone. It's not just the elderly, but it's everyone.
And what are the reasons given by aged care providers to not be pet friendly? Is that a big issue for a lot of facilities? They just don't have the capacity to do so?
Yes, it's not the capacity so much as they haven't got the kits. So we've worked with the aged care places that have actually got a pet-friendly attitude and created these kits of policies and rules, regulations and so on, which allow people to have their pets with them.
And what kind of results have you seen if aged care facilities allow their residents to have pets? You know, the research shows it has a massive impact on physical and mental well-being.
Oh, it certainly does. Well, if you can imagine having to go into a nursing home and giving up everything you have, apart from what fits in one room, well, that's astronomical. But to be able to take your pet with you, the results have shown that is just ease into the aged care scenario. And it's great for the other clients, it's great for the staff. Everyone enjoys it.
Is there also some capacity long-term to have one or two pets for the entire facility? Because often, you know, a lot of the aged care facilities are massively under pressure with low staff and hard-working staff, and adding pets would be a big issue for some areas.
Yeah, well, see, this is a part of it. If you take your pet in there with you, or you go past all the policies and tick all the boxes, you have to actually be able to care for that pet.
Mm. And I was just about to say, is that a big issue, especially if the patient may be living with dementia?
Yes. Yeah, that would be a problem. Because what we do is we make sure that that pet has a guardian. So if the person themselves has to go to hospital or pass away, that guardian will take that pet, which stops it from going into shelters or being euthanized. So, so the guardian does a lot. However, but the person themselves has to be able to feed them, walk them, and care for them. So when the person goes into the aged care homes, they get a care plan, and so does the pet.
Yeah, it's such a great program. We know the evidence is there on what a massive difference pets can be for so many people. Really appreciate you joining us, Trish. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Natasha.
Supersonic, but quite, and a milestone for aviation. That's how NASA describes this experimental jet plane, which it just took for a test flight over the Southern Californian desert. The sleek aircraft measures 30 metres from nose to tail and can reach speeds of more than 1,400 kilometres an hour. It can also break the sound barrier without really making a sound. The latest weather details are coming up next with Gertie Sperling.
We have showers and thunderstorms developing, but there are some breaks of sunny weather too. I'll have the details soon.
Now let's check the latest weather details. Good afternoon once again, Gertie. We have some spots of wet weather today.
That's right, Tash. We've got showers along the east coast with rain developing across SA as well. If we take a look at the weather picture, we can see that this low pressure trough here is just dragging that moisture across South Australia. There is the chance of thunderstorms too, while a separate weak trough is triggering the showers along the east coast. Scattered cloud is pushing over the southwest corner of WA, but the rest of the country looking fine and mostly settled thanks to this high pressure system just ridging in to the centre there. Around the country today, Sunday, a shower or two and 22 degrees for Perth. Mostly sunny and 33 for Broome. 34 is the top for Darwin. 26 for Brisbane with some scattered showers. 23 with a shower or two for Sydney. Partly cloudy and 24 degrees for Melbourne. 18 is the top for Hobart. 25 with a shower developing in Adelaide this afternoon. Looking ahead, showers and storms in Brisbane on the way. 28 degrees is the forecast top for tomorrow, but those showers will start to ease by Sunday, 29 the top. Showers will linger in Sydney, staying warm though, 25 on Saturday, but then dropping down a touch, 24 on Sunday, partly cloudy as well. Now, a storm is possible in Melbourne tomorrow. 23 degrees is the top, but it will warm up to a lovely 30 by Sunday. Clear skies are on the way for Adelaide, a lovely 28 degrees on Saturday after that storm, of course, tomorrow. And then Sunday, 25 with a shower or two. Perth, 24 degrees with showers increasing. A light shower is just possible on Sunday, but then Sunday looking like to be the pick of the weekend, 25 degrees. So scattered showers and storms are lingering into the weekend, but still plenty of sunshine in the mix too. Tash.
Goody, thank you. And that's Seven's national news for this Thursday. I'm Natasha Belling. Thanks so much for your company. Stay with us. Alex Cullen is coming up next with Winning Arvo. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good afternoon.